Peace and blessings. This is Unplug 'em. Father God, my tongue and my mind and my heart to be in alignment with your will. We're going to talk about MKUltra. We're going to talk about something that's been documented actually quite well by other researchers such as Fritz Springmeier. I suggest his writings and his teachings on how to create a totally undetectable mind controlled slave. It's a book now that is being distributed through Alex Jones InfoWars, so do be cautious of that. But do know that Brother Fritz, before he was scooped up by Alex Jones, he was doing his own thing and did it so well that it made the enemy mad enough to throw him in jail for 8 years. But his information on mind control was right and exact to what I found in my own experience, and I've had experience with both demonic possessed individuals and individuals who are textbook examples of MK Ultra monarchs. And I maintain that also some of the sisters that you call freaks in the hood, these sisters have been monarch programmed without ever having to be involved in the military or without ever having to have a specific file made on them or having the Adjustment Bureau, quote unquote, follow them, simply through the media by the scripture Ephesians 2 and 2. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways, but excuse me, that's James 1 and 8. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways, because it's all about creating duality. The United States of Terror. It was a show that I believe HBO had put out. It was either HBO or Showtime, but it was a cable network program, and it was about a young lady who was a victim of schizophrenia, and in fact a perfect example of an MK Ultra monarch butterfly programmed woman, and her ways were unknowable and very movable and hard to peg down because of the fact that she was struggling with multiple personality syndrome, what they now call dissociative identity disorder, DID. They used to call it split personalities or multiple personalities. And the goal of Project Monarch is to create multiple personalities in all of us. Project Janus is a part of Project Monarch, and a very key part. So if you missed the teaching on Project Janus, you may want to add that to this. Again, it's all about the duality. Look at the word butterfly and how it is in itself a word that screams duality. You have butter, which is nice and clean, beautiful and clear and smooth, tasty, some would say, and then you have the fly, which is unclean. And the conjunction or the connection of the two words is part of why they use this symbolism. There are a number of reasons. Also because to attract the movement of the monarch butterfly is quite difficult, and so is it to track the movement of a woman who has been possessed, oppressed, or depressed by the demons that Project Monarch shoots out to us all. Now, I say women because it's been my experience that I've run into a couple of MK Ultra betas in my lifetime. I ran into one alpha, a male, of course, but I've ran into more than one beta, and that was just the Most High's grace and mercy on me. I wasn't ready for the alpha that I did run into when I ran into him, and now I am. But I understand now more about the two and the difference. The one is the alpha technique of Lucifer. He has two techniques. One is the masculine or possessive technique, and the other is the feminine or passive technique. They're both passive. Even the passive technique is aggressive, so that's passive aggressive too. But it's either he comes at you the slick way by way of sex, or he comes at you the hard way by way of murder. And these are his main two weapons and objectives in mind control. So no longer is the CIA the sole or sole source of programming, as in the case of the Manchurian. 3 books or 3 sources where you can find more basic information on this, because I'm staying away from the basic things that have been said and well documented by other researchers more intelligent than I. I do not wish to regurgitate. I could not do as good a job. But again, I am sent to say the things that have not been said the way they have not been said to those who have not heard them. So Kathy O'Brien's Transformation of America is one book that you want to refer to. I read that book, excellent book, to show you from beginning to end how people are mind control programmed and how children are attacked from the time that they're little ones, and Disney is a very heinous part of that. Bryce Taylor, her book Thanks for the Memories, she also talks about it, and Arizona Wilder talks about it in her famed interview with David Icke, who you also have to be cautious of. And I say this because, as researchers, we have to both deal with information and misinformation, because sometimes it's the bad and or incredible or discreditable sources that they give certain information to, because they say, well, hey, if they say it, then it'll be looked at as a kook or conspiracy theory, and so they allow them to say certain things, and that's why we have to pay attention to people like Dr. York and people like Alex Jones and any other possible agent provocateurs, because they will be used, please believe me, to disseminate some aspect of truth. It's better. It lets some pressure off the pipe. If all of the truth stayed hidden and no one was allowed to disseminate it, then there would be an explosion. And so in order to keep that explosion from happening, they let certain key individuals have certain types of information aimed at certain groups and demographics. And Dr. York was aimed at the conscious community, just as Alex Jones is aimed at your NRA gun-toting right-wing patriot. Okay, it's part of mind control, and they have somebody for everybody. So under the MKUltra, which was by and large created through the use of scientists that were gleaned from Nazi Germany, Adolf Hitler's very occult science and medical and psychological program. He was a member of the Thule Society, so he was very into the occult and understood things that you will never hear them talk about in history, which is disingenuous of them. If they were really trying to give you a true picture of the man and what he was about and the evils of this man, then they would not hide that. But they hide it because the secret societies themselves that put out the stories about Hitler and the books about Hitler don't want that part of the story told. That busts them. Now you have horror flicks in MKUltra. Well, the audience and the stars are targeted by MKUltra, as in the example of Cat People, Simone Simon. There we have a name. If you haven't looked at the spelling spell, you might want to look at the Project Janus and the spelling spell too, and understand what's in a name. In her name, Simone Simon, like Scotty Scott of the Whispers, and like Mary Mary, like Tony Tony Tony, like Sirhan Sirhan, and like Duran Duran, and like Philip Phillips, and the list goes on and on. There are marked. There's a way that they mark their mind-controlled slaves, oftentimes with these double names, which is part of imprinting the dual mind in that individual. These individuals are victims. So again, we have MKUltra A and B, the A tactic and the B tactic, and you had Michael's song Butterflies. You give me butterflies inside, and without a doubt, Michael was a MKUltra victim from the time he was a child, and his behaviors, his subsequent behaviors, all are better understood if you add that in your equation. And that's all of his behaviors, even those that some of us who loved his music don't want to come to grips with. The best bullies were those who were bullied themselves. And the traumatization of bullying often creates in the victim the desire to then bully themselves, bully others. And I maintain that if Michael had anything to do with child molestation, that we should not be so surprised if it's true, because of the fact that he himself had to be molested. It's part of the Crowleyan magic that the music industry is based upon, the sex magic, the blood sexy magic that you've seen people's titles of their songs and albums allude to. But it's about making evil fair seeming and turning beauty into ugliness. The duality. You give me butterflies inside, that funny feeling when something ain't quite right, when something is going wrong. You get the feeling of butterflies inside. They call it butterflies in your stomach, and it's in that pit of the stomach that I had one of my first deliverance experiences with praying or finding that there's something about that part of the body where the Alien movie shows the alien coming from, and the aliens are nothing but metaphors for demons in the movies. E.T. all the way to aliens. But again, uh, you find that this is an allegory for demons, and the pit of the stomach is often the targeted area that these demons can be felt swimming around in. They will, like you saw in the Exorcist movie, how they were riding on her stomach from the inside. Something about the pit of the stomach where you feel the butterflies, and it's that chakra. One reason why Virgos are often chosen as MKUltra victims, like Beyonce is a Virgo. Virgo rules the stomach, and it's they believe that certain signs, people born on certain birthdays, are more likely to be good quote unquote candidates for this possession. Okay, the MKUltra Butterfly Project is to not only create mind control but create possession. And you have to understand that when you're talking about these things, there's a demonic force in the air. Right now, there's some sort of fraternal stepping going on outside in the projects for some odd reason on this Thanksgiving, pagan day. High energy days are what pagan days are, the so-called holidays or holy days. They're days that are picked because of their spiritual significance already. But then you add in it the fraternal energy and the energy of the projects itself. And you have to understand that when it says in Ephesians 2 and 2 that the adversary is called the power of the air, that means he rules the airwaves, not just by way of television and radio and telephone, and we'll talk about those, but also by way of the energy that the words that you speak out produce. And by saying certain things, talking about certain things, you awake the spirit realm around you, and they will hop into the bodies that they can control, the bodies that are in alignment with their frequency, bodies that are out of tune and out of touch with the Most High, and they will use those bodies to execute Lucifer's agenda all around you, distract you, cause confusion. But again, there's no victory over that which the Most High causes to do, because who he blesses, none can curse. He's not the author of confusion. But we're going to talk about how fraternities play prominently into this, and sororities. The freak in the hood, you think she's a freak, because of physical or base reasons or earthly reasons, but it's all back to spirituality. Most of the time, those were the girls that were molested. Incest may have helped her to become that way. And in the case where incest is not involved, in sexual promiscuity at an early age, maybe not being properly supervised, these things can help this initial trauma to be caused. And it's important that the sexual promiscuity be rooted in the monarch slave, because as a beta slave, that is your thing, sex. You are to use sex in order to execute Lucifer's agenda, like the alpha slave is to use violence. Like Timothy McVeigh may have been an alpha. Well, some of the girls you call freaks, or Cherokee, for example, I feel in my spirit, is a beta. And the betas are trained not necessarily by isolating them and putting them through specific rigorous programs of torture like you saw in Manchurian Candidate and trauma, but simply by the world around them shaping them, the things that cause natural trauma in the family. Unnatural, really, it's unnatural trauma because it's by way of the fallen angels and the Luciferian pop culture society that a blanket mass possession is spread over us all through the media by way of the airwaves. Again, the prince of the power of the air. So you find these certain characteristics in these individuals, in these women, and in the men as well. You'll find this too, these same things. But my experience happened to be with the women, and so that's why you'll hear me say that. But a problem with loving. Now, let's go back. MJ and Ambrosius. Now, again, I'm not sure. I should have looked this up before I started, the meaning of this, but I know that this has to do with both or two. The am is an ambidextrous or ambiguous two. So, I rebuke these demons in the name of Yahshua HaMashiach. They will have a problem loving. They will be fixated with death and rebirth. They will have spiritual confusion, a la Marvin Gaye, meaning that I have seen where gospel music that was being played, they reacted in a very sexual way to gospel music, and that was very ill to me to see that happen. But though they will be hungry for God, because again, this is a victim, this is an individual crying out from behind the mask of the other personality, which is attempting to dominate them. How does it dominate? How do you give people this? Through the media, through the music, the airwaves, the things that are said in the music, the frequencies of the sound of the music, okay, the lyrics, through the digital programming in your television. Well, they made everybody get new TVs. You know, they even gave you a voucher if you were poor, so they can make sure that you're entertained. Really, the track phone, the phones, all of these things that use the power of the air, the radio, the songs that they play on the radio. All of these things are used to push out demonic energy and demonic entities as well. And they're looking for bodies, for fit, willing bodies to house themselves in. And how do you be fit and willing? By setting your vibration a certain way. They cannot enter into you. They cannot bogart. If your vibration is set a certain way, they cannot get in. But if you are set on anger or lack or fear, fear is one individual's trigger. Another individual's trigger is lack or worrying about money and finances. But again, once that trigger has been pulled, the individual will then react with textbook accuracy in these ways, because demons, like cats, have a certain nature. Cats do certain things and don't do certain things. And once you know how to take care of one cat, you know how to take care of them all. And that's what you find pretty much, that's what I've found, with dealing with the demon realm and the way that they possess. Even in the hood, it's the same thing, the same way. We translate it differently because we're looking at it with our carnal eyes, our physical eyes. We're trying to understand a spiritual reality. So we look at it, she's a freak, she's going to be a freak, look like her mama. Well, what was her mama like? Why was her mama that way? What happened in the streets? What happened in that mama's life? What happened in that mother's childhood that got her to behave in the way that she does? Now, the monarch is the king of the butterflies because it's large. It's from the Nymphalidae family, and that word nymph in Nymphalidae is where the same root word for nymphomaniac. So that has to do with sex, sexuality, and the nymphomaniac is a prime candidate for MKUltra programming, and the girls who are fixated with fraternities and sororities, girls who are fixated with the gang culture. These are reptilian brain thinkings, the way of thinking where you're worried and concerned about your role and place in society. This is reptilian brain or reptilian-minded thinking to the core. And so with that reptilian-minded thinking, you vibrate in a certain way that welcomes the spirits of the air into your body. And they come into your body, listen, they're all around you right now. They come into your body by your permission. You, unaware of how you're vibrating, must vibrate a negative way. Anger, fear. These are the things that open up your chakras, open up your energy centers in your body to where these beings have the universal legal right to enter into you. And once they have entered into you, they begin to take root. You think that it's just your little cute other name that you use on Facebook, or you think that it's just your rap name, or you think it's just your dancing name, when in reality it has taken you over. You think it's just the name that they call you in the hood. This is the beginning of creating that other self. They need for you to create a dual self, to be not only an amnesiac, but also to be a split personality victim, a victim of dissociative identity disorder. DID is what they call it nowadays. They used to call it multiple personalities. Read the book Sybil. That was a case, a famous case that was turned into a movie about a young lady who they diagnosed it initially as being schizophrenic, and then the question of, well, was she possessed by a legion, began to arise. So Beelzebub is Lord of the Flies, and again, a butterfly is a type of fly. It's a type of insect, and we look at it as a beautiful thing other than an insect, and you tattoo it on your body. Insects represent the dark, the world of the realm of the occult, the hidden, the unseen thing, because of their ability to hide the way that they're designed for stealth. And butterflies are designed the way they're designed so that they can be hidden among the flowers. And again, this is part of that duality, part of that making evil fair seeming and turning beauty into ugliness. The pretty girls that you find in the gangs, in the sororities, in the corporations, in the church, these are your top candidates for MKUltra mind control programming. Your top candidates for monarchs. They tattoo themselves. They are fixated with death and rebirth. They have spiritual confusion, a la Marvin Gaye, though they're hungry for God. Amnesiac behavior, or narcolepsy. The denial demon for their strongman. Heavy in drama or trauma. They will have unique birthdays, either very strong power days or cusp days, another sign of duality, being both signed. Or fire sign, because of the movement of fire, being hard to peg where fire is going to be next in the next few minutes. And that is also an analogy for the way that the monarch moves. The monarch butterfly is known for its unpredictable movement. And in Proverbs, in the book of Proverbs 5 and 6, we find that their ways are hard to track, like the strange woman of Proverbs 5 and 6.